Hi, and welcome to Pathways to God and Significance. My name is Michael Venema. This is the 8th in the video series, the Unlast Days of Jesus, in which we are looking at the last days, the last week of Jesus' work and his activities. As I mentioned before, this section has this part of Jesus' life has a surprising ending, and we'll get to that, I think, next week. In video number 7, we noted Jesus being tried, being treated terribly, interrogated, tortured, humiliated, and led to his place of execution. And today we are going to note his death. I also mentioned last week that we'd be noting a couple of very impressive connections between some of the pre-Jesus parts of the Bible, the Old Testament, the Jewish writings, and Jesus himself. This happens time and time again in the accounts of Jesus' life, which are very important things to recognize. But in consideration of the suffering that Jesus experienced, the loneliness, the abandonment, the being taunted by people, and also, as we will see, him being offered something to drink while he is breathing his last. Some of these things come to the fore in one particular passage, Psalm 69. So it goes this way: God, answer in love, answer with your sure salvation. Rescue me from the swamp. Don't let me go under for good. Pull me out of the clutch of the enemy, this whirlpool sucking me down. Don't let the swamp be my grave, the black hole. Don't let it swallow me, its jaws clenched around me. Now answer me, God, because you love me. Let me see your great mercy full face. Don't look the other way. Your servant can't take it. I'm in trouble. Answer right now. Come close, God, and get me out of here. Rescue me from this death trap. You know how they kick me around, pin on me the donkey's ears and the dunce's cap. I'm broken by their taunts, flat on my face, reduced to nothing. I looked in vain for one friendly face, not one. I couldn't find one shoulder to cry on. They put poison in my soup, vinegar in my drink. So that particular psalm, and a number of others too, really find their home, their center, their landing place, so to speak. Their fulfillment is the usual word that's used in what happened to Jesus. Now, let's go to the story. Jesus is on the cross. At noon, the sky became extremely dark. The darkness lasted 3 hours. So another quick pause to bring to the fore one of these Bible passages which, in a way, prophesied what was going to happen. And here's God saying, I'll set wonders in the sky above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billowing smoke, the sun turning black and the moon blood red, before the judgment day of God, the tremendous and awesome day. Whoever calls help God gets help. And it continues on a little bit longer. But did you pick this up? The sun turning black. So this comes from a very small book in the Old Testament called Joel. So this passage has a reference, no doubt, to some events or event before Jesus, but in particular, it comes to light in Jesus' own experience there with the sun, with the day turning dark, the sun turning black. By the way, this same text is used again a bit further along in the Bible narrative in the early days of the church's development, when the Spirit of God comes again to do some remarkable things in the church, the world order, so to speak, being turned upside down, the sun turning black. And indeed, that's what's kind of happening there as Jesus is dying on the cross. The Son of God dying on the cross. Things are being turned upside down. For bad, it looks like it, but also for good, as it will turn out. So here we go again. At 3 o'clock, Jesus groaned out of the depths, crying loudly, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you abandoned me? Some of the bystanders who heard him said, "Listen, he's calling for Elijah." Now it's understandable that they would say that because Jesus says, "Eloi, Eloi," which sounds a bit like Elijah. And there's a jeering crowd, there's a mob. It's easy to get confused as to what you're hearing. So some of them say, well, maybe he's calling for Elijah. Let's see if Elijah shows up. Now, Elijah was a very famous Jewish Old Testament prophet. And the thing about Elijah was that he had not died, but he had been taken up into heaven without dying. So there was something special about him, and there was kind of an expectation among some of the Jewish people. I don't know if you want to call it folklore, if that's the right way to look at it. That's probably being a bit too dismissive, but there was these stories that maybe Elijah would return again. And in a way he did, because John the Baptist, who prepares the way for Jesus very early on in Mark's Gospel, John the Baptist is sometimes referred to as Elijah. So in a sense, Elijah did come back, but not in the sense that the people had been thinking. So anyway, some of the bystanders are wondering if Elijah is going to show up. And someone else runs off, and I'm reading now, soaked a sponge in sour wine, put it on a stick, and gave it to Jesus to drink, saying, "Let's see if Elijah comes to take him down." And remember that line I read in Psalm 69, they put vinegar in my drink. So this little snippet comes to the fore in what's happening there as Jesus is dying on the cross. But Jesus, with a loud cry, gave his last breath, and at that moment, the temple curtain ripped right down the middle. What temple curtain? Almost certainly, this is the temple curtain that prevents people from seeing into what was called the Holy of Holies. This was an incredibly sacred and powerful space for Jewish people. They're in the Jerusalem temple, and it was so sacred that only one person once a year was allowed into it, and so that space is seen as the place where God's presence is highly concentrated. It is the holiest place you can get to, the Holy of Holies. You don't just look in or wander in off the streets. It is a place into which you cannot even see, and only one person once a year is going to be allowed to see into it. The curtain preventing people from looking in is ripped in two. What does that mean? Two things. One is, Jesus had a number of times expressed condemnation for the temple. Its days of usefulness to God and his purposes were over. And I think that that's the first thing that this ripping of the temple curtain means. It is a confirmation that what Jesus had been saying about the temple is true. The days of its serving the people are done. The second thing is that it in a way, since people can now look into what has once been called the Holy of Holies, this has been taken by many people to teach that now we have free access to God and his holiness, and that comes through the work of Jesus Christ. That's maybe getting ahead of the story a little bit, but that ripping of the temple, it is highly significant. Now, these closing words for today. When the Roman captain standing guard in front of Jesus on the cross, the Roman guard in front of this, saw that Jesus had quit breathing, he said, "This has to be the Son of God." Now, I'm not sure what this Roman non-Jewish soldier, this guard, was thinking. Maybe he was thinking that, yes, Jesus had been a controversial figure, a well-known controversial figure. Many were against him, but others would see him as a kind of a chosen person of God. And maybe this is the Roman captain saying, I think I'm going to side with the people who see Jesus as a good man, as the Son of God. But I think more importantly, for Mark, the writer, this is kind of a climax. This is where Mark wants to bring the reader. This has to be the Son of God. Thanks again so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and hit the notification bell so that you will know about new videos coming out. See you next time.